Hey guys, this is Greg with Medical Muscle. In this video, I want to talk about the things I would have done differently in medical school, or even prior to starting medical school, and some of the things I did do that I'm really glad I did. Okay, so I want to share that with you guys today. So before medical school, I wish I had more opportunities to shadow different specialties. I think that's so important because then you get to know early on, is this something that you like? Or if you don't like it, okay? And you can kind of gear your interests in that direction. I don't think it's required. You know, a lot of people I've heard have changed their plan halfway through clinicals, okay? You know, 6 months before they have to actually make a decision. But I think that having that consistency from the very beginning looks really good to residency programs. It shows that this has always been what you wanted to do. And the only way you know that is if you're exposed to this thing early. I know a lot of people who, just for example, wanted to do surgery. They thought that's exactly what they wanted to do, but I'm going to tell you, they didn't really have that much experience in surgery. And they get into the rotation, they're like, ugh, I actually don't like this. I'm going to do something else. Do internal medicine or something. And that's good. It's good that you do know what you like, okay? But I think it's helpful to know it earlier. It can be helpful, okay? Not a requirement. But, you know, during medicine, say if you're already in medical school, like you're in year 1 or 2, and you're on a break back home, I think it would be really powerful for you, just you in general, to you know, do some shadowing for a few days in that specialty that you're interested in, if you don't have that exposure. All right. I mean, you know, obviously you can join clubs in that specialty. There are volunteer things that you can do in that specialty that just shows programs that, you know, you've had a continued interest. Very powerful. One thing I did do though that I think helps me a lot is I researched all these specialties. I never got to shadow them, but I researched them. Okay. That at the least is super important, because my top choices, I made it just like 2 top choices when starting school, and I ended up picking one of those. And so I pretty much knew that I was going to do one or the other. They're quite different, but you know, that was something I was aware of. And it took till clinicals to really clarify that difference. And that might be your case too. Okay, so another thing that I wish I did in medical school was be open to using other resources. I was so stuck on the idea of only using St. George's University like material, the school material only, because that's who's running the test. That's who's writing these tests. It's their style, so it's important to know the material that they want you to know. But I felt like if you used other resources, it can fill in the gaps in my knowledge that St. George was not giving, okay? And they can't cover everything in a lecture. There's only so much time. And there's a lot more information that they need to go over, but they just don't have the time, right? And you will definitely see those kind of things in STEP. You know, you may never see it in a lecture, but it will come up on STEP. And it's on you to fill in those gaps with, you know, like Boards and Beyond, first aid, using those kind of outside resources. I started using them later and they were very helpful, but I wish I did it from the beginning. Okay. Now, one thing I'm glad I did is I also didn't have too many different resources. I know people get resource overload, and then you're not really, you know, learning anything, right? You want to set up, you know, very limited things, like maybe 2 or 3 different things, and just stick to that. You know, for me, Anki was super powerful, and I think it was very helpful in the beginning because, you know, if I need to learn SGU material, Anki's a great way to consolidate that kind of information. SGU specific, made my own Anki cards, very helpful. But, you know, I wish I had added on like a Boards and Beyond, something just like 1 or 2 other resources would have been really good. And I think it would have helped speed up my studying, because oftentimes I would just be sitting there staring at the material and not understanding what's actually being said, and just thinking if I can reread it, maybe I'll finally understand it. No, watch another video, just do a different type of studying and you might get that information. Okay, now work ethic. I wish, especially in the beginning, I wish I was more efficient with my study habits from the beginning. And I wish I was more focused from the beginning. I've said in some older videos, in term 1, I was doing maybe up to 6 to 8 hours a day, sometimes 8 hours of work, between lecture and reviewing and making Anki cards and doing the Anki cards, doing questions, all that stuff, prepping for small group. It sounds impressive, 8 hours of studying, but in reality, it wasn't very focused, right? I probably was goofing off on YouTube and other social media platforms, probably too much, all right? It wasn't till clinicals, like halfway through clinicals, that I downloaded one of these focus apps. There's tons of them. I use like Focus One, but it shuts down my ability to go on that stuff on my computer, and then I delete all the apps off my phone. I wish I was just harder on myself to block those things from the beginning. It wasn't until the end that I had to, because I just had no time. But in the beginning, I had more time, more free time, and I would have probably had more fun in terms 1 and 2 if I had known that I could just focus when I actually needed to study, and then after I can re-download those things. That's pretty crucial. One thing, again, like I've said, one thing that I'm glad I did, especially for step 2, is I downloaded that Focus app, and then like first thing in the morning, I would turn it on first thing in the morning on my computer. I couldn't access anything for like 6 hours, deleted all those apps on my phone. So that was very, very helpful. All right. Now, the last thing is clinicals. I wish I had a better sleep schedule. I would sit up late some nights and be like, you know what? And it would work. You can go sleep. You can be sleep deprived for a few days and actually be very productive. And I would do that, right? So I would push my body and get questions done at night, and hit my number that I need to do, because I was like maybe not being as productive during the day, and then I get at night and I just really work. The problem is, like, say by the 4th day, that lack of sleep really kicks in and you're so shot. And then what I would do, here was the stupid part. Say now this is the 4th day, I would still try to stay up and do those questions, but I wasn't getting the questions in, but I'd still force myself to stay up and try to get through them, because it's a goal that I tried to hit, instead of just sleeping and then pushing it again. I think if you're really smart, it's hard to do this, but if you're very smart and you're gonna limit your sleep to be more productive, cycle it. So do maybe 2 days in a row low sleep, and then get good sleep the 3rd night. If you push it into the 3rd or the 4th night, you're gonna crash, and then you just cannot do anything those next few days. If you only do 2 nights and you get 1 good night of sleep, you won't really feel it that much, okay? But because medicine is a marathon, you really have to fit in sleep. You cannot keep pushing. Like 5 days, like in the middle of the week, what a lot of students will do is just not sleep very much. They'll sleep 5 or 6 hours, maybe even 4, depending on the rotation. Say if you're in surgery or internal medicine, pediatrics, OB, any of those, they all have, tough schedules. You can't make 5 days. It's just too long. And I think a lot of people try to do that and then make up on the weekends. It's just too long of a period to not get enough sleep. I wish I just, focused more during the day, but then be okay with just going to bed at the same time and not pushing it that late. I wish I did that. One thing I'm really glad I did throughout clinicals was keeping my diet and my exercise program super consistent. I think that helped me when comparing myself against other students. I think even with the lack of sleep, because everybody gets lack of sleep at certain points, I think that your physical health is so important to doing those long shifts. Everybody can do, long hours the first week, 2 weeks. But when you get into your 3rd and 4th week, that's when you start seeing the difference between people who keep themselves fit and healthy and they exercise, especially getting cardio, and the people who don't. The people who do the cardio, they're positive. They don't have that emotional burnout. They're not sharp. They're not, they're not, sharp and just grumpy, right? They stay positive, and it really pays off, because if you need letters from attendings, you need to stay positive. You got to stay focused, and you have to be able to, get the work done. Okay, so there it is. Things I would have done differently before getting into medical school and while in medical school. Hope you guys are kicking butt, and I wish you the best of luck.